I begin with a question for us to ponder. What does it mean to be afflicted? Now, I know as I look around the chapel this evening, the definition of afflicted is going to be different whether one is young or maybe a little younger. If one has been experienced in a different aspect than another person. But I offer these few definitions just to give us maybe something to wrap our head around. For some might suggest that being afflicted is a sharp physical pain that constantly plagues us. Others could say it's emotional turmoil caused by sadness, unhappiness, or a difficult decision that's troubling us. There are those who that might immediately propose rather than an individual plight, being afflicted revolves around communal suffering, which as a group we brutally experience together, such as the effects of an economic downturn, the distress over the passing of someone dear in our community, or painful communal tragedy. And still others might suggest that many of us minimize the definition of affliction altogether, for it implies the cruel realities of those dealing with living in oppressive communities, living without basic needs, or facing insurmountable obstacles outside of our own consciousness. Now, a few weeks ago, sitting at our Passover's tables, we tried to define what it means to be afflicted. Through the Seder, we were challenged to confront how this idea manifests itself in our lives and our world. Through the retelling of the story, we attempted to internalize that feeling of affliction as an individual and a community, and hoped, like our ancestors' exodus from Egypt, we too may relive their pain. We too may ease our emotional distress, and we too may find solace in our communal strength. Yet once this celebration concluded, we might, consciously or unconsciously, push aside our story from affliction to liberation until we come across it again next year, God willing, in Jerusalem. Our Torah portion this week brings us face to face again with great pain, great worry, and great distress. Instead of offering us a story of hope, on the surface we read that suffering can be agonizing and that immediate results of freedom, of liberation, are not the norm. Furthermore, we learn that these afflictions can be extremely painful, can be long-lasting, and can most certainly seem hopeless. Yet deep within our text, we are reminded that even with the most unpleasant and traumatic of events, time and patience can help to heal our wounds. This week, we read from Tazria Metzora, two separate portions many times as this week combined into one. In both readings, we confront the Hebrew word tzara'at. In Tazria, tzara'at is used in relation to the human body. It is a grotesque skin ailment, sometimes compared to leprosy, which could cause the skin to rot, wounds to ooze putrid pus, and an odor that would cause even the strongest to feel nauseous. One can only imagine the merciless pain associated with this ailment. And when an Israelite acquired it, they were immediately put into isolation. Now in Metzora, another type of tzara'at is discussed. This plague erupted on the walls of a house, similar to a dangerous mold. It discolored walls, presented a pungent smell, and forced our ancestors to painstakingly tear down affected areas. As I mentioned, we just told our story, which relived the pains of slavery, the uncertainty of freedom, and the relief found with redemption. A story filled with definitive expressions of hope being realized. One in which, beyond regurgitating our ancestors' historical account, allows us to personally and collectively feel liberated from our difficulties, which currently are or previously have burdened us. And we are not alone in this pain. For at our tables, our Seder tables, the sheer presence of our family, our friends, and our community can build us up through their comfort and support. Yet now, our Torah, just a few weeks later, expresses that when afflicted with a great personal pain or difficulty within our home, hopelessness is replaced or replaces promise. And instead of togetherness, we are separated from the community, and our foundations are torn down. While literally, our Torah's account of Tzara'at provides a protocol to detect and cure individuals' homes and individuals infected with it. The discussion surrounding Tzara'at represents more than just an unsightly epidemic and a seemingly brutal remedy. Instead of glossing over suffering, our Torah, in this graphic description of skin infections and mold, forces us to confront it. It tells us that pain is real, and as much as we might want to avoid it, we are expected to come face to face with it in difficult situations, not only in just reading the Torah year after year, but also as our own personal circumstances present themselves in our lives and our world. The biblical remedies to either separate an infested individual from the community and to dare tear down homes overrun by it speak to the reality of not what we are able to do to those plagued by these circumstances, but rather expresses the emotional isolation and physical breakdown an individual personally goes through when afflicted with despair, trouble, and heartbreak. And in this condition, it is hard to replace feelings of hopelessness with any sense of hope. I asked at the beginning what it means to be afflicted, and whether an individual pain or communal suffering, and whether we are conscious of it or not, the pain we experience is harsh. In this moment, it can feel as though believing in or holding on to hope is impossible. Yet even in the midst of our greatest afflictions, hidden in our Torah portion is the exact aspect concealed at our own moments of resignation. There is no bigger affliction than our own despair, and nobody can give that to us but our own self. So when we are feeling alone, and when our walls come crashing down, there is no doubt in the loneliness, and there is no doubt in the rubble, the possibility of what can be rebuilt. Will it be better? Will it offer a cure? Will it provide something different? We don't know. Yet what is known is that the potential to overcome our afflictions, to feel better, to be healed, to make our community more desirable, exists only when we come out of isolation and start to rebuild from our personal and collective ruins. May this then be our hope. Shabbat Shalom.